Smile this, smile that. Why don't you smile at some bitches, bro? What is poppin', everybody? Welcome to episode 35 of 20,000 Films Under the Sea.
That did not just happen!
No, I got it right after, buddy. I got it right after. But we're gonna tell the people what happened anyway. So Garrett went to go take a pee, and he was coming back as we were about to go into like starting, and he pretty much sat down as the camera was changing. And he was like, got a power pee in? Is that what you said?
I just took an Austin Powers pee.
I am one of your directors tonight, Arnell Pearson, and I am here across my boy, Garrick Bartholomew Eaton. Garrick, how are you, sir?
I am fucking great. I am on my fall break right now, which has only been like kind of a half fall break. We've had some mishaps this week,
Sure.
but honestly, I've been enjoying it. I've been on a big game rotation. I got a little bit of painting in this week. I got all 3 of my Space Marines done. I posted that on Twitter if you want to go look at those. And like I'm gonna be doing some more painting this weekend.
Yes,
I went
you
and
are,
bought
sir.
24 new paints. Like
Yeah,
so many
I
new
saw
paints this
it.
weekend.
Very, very funny after you were talking about, yeah, I might just get a few.
Yeah, I ended up planning like the whole recipe at Friday while I was at work, and I was like, I'm gonna need this paint and this paint. There's like a notebook, and so like, I literally just went and bought everything in one go, and like
sure
I've
did.
got everything I could possibly ever want. But, like yeah, I've been doing that. I've been getting into the end game on Diablo 4's like Vessel of Hatred expansion. Been really enjoying that. I like the new Undercity format because it's like a time trial thing where you can target loot. It's really sick. I like it. And I've also been was literally just put the controller down before the episode, but like I was playing some New World, and like I really liked that game at launch already. My PC just couldn't run it. It was a really, really CPU intense game. And like, I don't know if you remembered when that game launched, like it had some pretty severe optimization issues, and like it actually nuked some high-end GPUs. I don't know if you remember that.
I do remember that. People's computers are getting fucking bricked, man.
Yeah,
Like, it was crazy.
getting fried because of this game. But like it is beautifully optimized and running incredibly well on my PlayStation 5, and I'm having a lovely experience. It's everything I remembered being awesome about the launch, plus some really, really great positive quality of life changes. I'm hoping to get like a good amount of time into it so I can do a hands-on.
Oh yeah, man! I'm excited to hear from you, my good friend. When is your fall break over?
So like I didn't have school yesterday, I didn't have school today. I go back to work on Monday, but the students don't come back until Tuesday. So even though I go back to work on Monday, it's just a nice quiet day at the office, sort of like deal. So it's like those are like half days off in my mind, only because I don't have to respond to like child related problems exclusively. I can just sit I can sit in like my office and I can like do data entry, which I desperately need to catch up on right now. So that's what I'm going to be using Monday for. So yeah. But no, today's like my last official day of like being on break, and then I've just got my weekend and back to work.
All right, brother. Hey, I'm happy to have it with you. And this fall time, I hope you get to really, really enjoy some falling this weekend, my good sir. Kind of lead into it. But you guys at home will get your fall break when it comes, because this is 20,000 Films Under the Sea, your choice for all the nerdy pop media news, reviews, and discussions that you want each and every week. If you like that, you can head on over to our Discord channel where you can submit questions, get exclusive content, and have early access to episodes before they go live on podcasts and video services near you. But if you've emptied your pockets for the latest and greatest in entertainment, that is cool with us. You can watch us record this show live right here at twitch.tv/good Kraken show. If you have Amazon Prime, you also have Twitch Prime. DJ. Shit. He said shit.
Prime Gaming.
And we would love for you to give that to us to help keep the lights on and cameras rolling. But you can also support us by going to our YouTube channel, hitting subscribe, or by leaving a review on our podcast channel by searching 20,000 Films Under the Sea. And we'll be right there waiting for you. Get it?
What?
We have some director's commentary on Mega Sir. Guys, our latest episode of Death Ratio, which is starring yours truly, me and Garrett, we got a chance to go in and do our official reviews of both Silent Hill 2 remake and Diablo 4's Vessel of Hatred. You guys do not want to miss that out. It was a great conversation on two wonderful games that came out this past week and a half, technically. But yeah, you guys definitely will want to check that out. Alongside that, we also have me and Devin played Silent Hill 2 last week. So if you guys are wanting to dive into that, but don't want to commit quite the $70 price point for that, you guys can go get a quick preview of the first hour and a half and see if it is up your tree, my good sirs. And then, yeah, you guys can comment on there and be like, wow, Ernell really sucks a lot of ass in this game. And I will respectfully agree. I will respectfully agree. And then lastly, guys, DJ is officially returning next week. That's right. DJ is officially back in the States as of last night. He should be home today. And now we're just going to give him the weekend to kind of clear himself off, if you will. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of rest, relax, repose, get himself gathered up again, and he'll be locked and loaded, ready to go by Shipwreck Show on Monday. So, yeah, hang tight. Our baby boy is back. Our baby boy is coming back, baby. Garrick, my guy, we have one important conversation that we're getting into tonight.
Just one
main topic that we're doing tonight. And you guys at home know exactly what it is. But for those of you that do not, Garrick, what are we getting into next, my good sir?
Oh, yeah. We are headed straight into the good stuff. No previews. No nonsense. Just the final cut.
Anyways, I want to get.
He whipped out a knife. Audio.
I want to. Yeah, sorry. Audio. I want to give him some kind of oomph. You know what I'm saying? Just something. Ding, 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 ding. Final cut. Guys, tonight for the final cut, we are giving you our official spoiler-free review of the brand new Smile 2, baby. Now, Garrick, before we dive into this too deep, you had just recently watched the first one.
Like literally just before I went and watched the second one.
Just watch it.
It's like same day.
Can we get your quick thoughts on the first one before we kind of start talking the sequel here?
I've said it once, I've said it a million times, right? Like I have two things that I have to invest with, like, to get me invested in a horror film. It always has to meet two criteria. It's either got to be believable or it's got to make me uncomfortable. And while Smile is not believable in any sense of the word, it does make you motherfucking uncomfortable. It is really, really good at that. I felt like that film had a lot of really great things for it. I thought it was actually a really good modern horror film. And like, I feel like that's high praise coming from me personally, because I'm a touch of a horror snob and I'm a little jaded when I watch these movies, and I might judge them a little more harshly than I should sometimes because I always have high expectations. I also recognize that like horror as a genre is like very subjective when it comes to like reviewing,
of course,
right? Because there are so many various factors about like what people do and don't find a good horror film, and like what is and isn't scary to the individual. And I thought like the first movie was very unnerving and it had a lot of cool things going for it. I really liked the plot. I thought it was like very interesting. It delved with like supernatural stuff without needing to like rely on like religion as a hook. And I thought like that I can always appreciate that, because as much as I love religious horror, like like I feel like that's like the safest route to like get supernaturals and ghosts and demons and it's, you know, preternatural entities involved. Like that's like the easiest vehicle for that. And they were just like, nah, we're not even gonna bother
fuck that.
Like telling you what the fuck this shit is. Like it's just gonna scare you. And like I like that. I like this, like the fear of the unknown. And like I feel like this film taps into a lot of really good tension building. Like even when it's not being scary, it's always making you like unnerved.
Yes, sir, and definitely did that to both me and Devin when we did our review of the first movie. That Smile 1 gave me the heebie-jeebies.
I really liked that movie, like quite a lot.
Yeah, so and we did too, and because of such, it was one of those interesting things where we were about to dive into. We got the announcement that Smile 2 was getting made. They released a trailer. We were like, do we need this? So we saw it, and I don't know about you. I had very little hope that the sequel was going to do anything more than just be another horror sequel. But we'll get to that in a second, because Smile 2, baby, about to embark on a new world tour. Global pop sensation Sky Riley begins to experience increasingly terrifying and inexplicable events. Overwhelmed by the escalating horrors and pressures of fame, she must face her dark past to regain control of her life before it spirals out of control. Released September 18th, 2024. Directed and written by our man Parker Finn, who worked on the original Smile movie, as well as the other sort of hit indie movie, Laura Hasn't Slept.
Yeah, that's what like spawned this franchise essentially.
Yes, sir. Turned out really, really great. And music by one Cristobal Tapia de Veer. And Lord knows that name, the music fucking slapped. National Treasure, Black Mirror, The White Lotus, and the first Smile movie. Some great credits there. A budget of $28 million and a box office of so far of $2.5 million. That was with the previews.
That's not bad just for like just advanced opening on a horror film.
For a horror movie, yeah, no, that's okay. That's all right.
And it is directly competing in the box office right now with Terrifier 3, which a lot of people are going to go see.
That's
whatever
for
reason.
Damn sure, for whatever reason. Runtime of 2 hours and 12 minutes. Garrick, my man, we only had one fun fact really to give you here. They were real hush hush, quiet about this movie and the production process of it.
Yeah, I have a feeling we'll learn more about it in the coming weeks.
Yeah, I'm sure
it'll
we
be
will.
Like a post-production sort of unveiling of the process.
Yeah, it'll be cool once we learn a little bit more. But for now, Odd Coincidence, or the first Smile movie from 2022, featured one Cal Penn, and this sequel features Peter Jacobson, both of whom were regulars on the hit TV show House. Which was about doctors working together to help diagnose and cure sick people, even having storylines with mental patients. So that was something that I was really excited about when I first saw this show, because I was like, oh, I fucking love that guy. He's in like the last
he's in like the last like the last like 2-3 seasons.
Yeah, dude, I love it, man. I love it, man. And any actors from House are fine with me being in anything. Garrick, my man, we're gonna have you kick things off here. What were your thoughts on Smile 2?
Okay. Here we go.
Yep, let's go. Let's do it.
I thought that this movie tried to be very ambitious, and it tried to do a lot. I feel like this is the result of like a best case scenario when it comes to a horror film of this nature. Most of the time, I feel like we just out and outright get a worse product. Sure. But I do not necessarily feel like this is worse. I'm not necessarily elevating anything in a particular way, but it didn't. I had a good time. I had a good time with the film overall in the theater. And with my experience with it. Now, I will say, like, I had some qualms, which I'll get to in a minute, but, like, I do want to talk about first, like, about the things that I really quite enjoyed with this movie. First and foremost, like, the cinematography. I loved the cinematography in this film. I thought that they used, like, really traditional horror cuts and like the way they did the like some of the panning and the close-ups, and like they played on very traditional 80s tropes, but they used them to really really great effect here, and it
Sure.
made for some really really awesome scenes that I really really loved. The lighting was also beyond phenomenal. I don't know if you noticed this. I didn't notice this in the first film. I may not have been watching super closely, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I didn't notice in the first film, but in the second film, I noticed that like there was like this flickering strobe-ish effects on like everything that didn't provide like if it wasn't from the sun, it flickered.
Yeah.
Like the whole movie. And like it did this very very good like under like subconscious job of like bringing like anxiety to each scene that this character was in, and I really appreciated like the subtle tension building technique that they used with like some of their camera angles and like a lot of their framing. They used like a lot of those shots in this film where like they want you to pay attention to the background, but it's a fucking red herring. It's always a red herring. And like and they do a really good job of subverting like some of those expectations by setting you up for what you think is going to be a very traditional horror moment, and then doing something very like either unique or ambitious or exciting in place of that traditional moment, while still being able to give you stuff like really good jump scares, which this film had quite a bit of. I will say that like this film is a touch longer than the original, and I did feel the pacing. I did not feel like this movie was paced very strongly. I felt like there was a lot of very slow moments. And the other one has like the original has some slow moments too, but I felt like it dipped too low, and like so like you know like we have like that baseline for where a horror movie needs to be to kind of keep it exciting.
Sure.
And like I felt like when the low moments would dip too far below that line of what's acceptable for like that breathing moment in a horror film. Like I felt like those were sometimes too far in between, until we get like that rapid escalation in the third act, which like so it was a little I felt it was a little disconjointed there like in some of the pacing. And I will say like moving on to like probably one of my biggest issues with this film was whenever horror films or any film tries to deal with the celebrity, for a lack of a better term, I feel like it's very hard to achieve that in believability. And I always have this issue with, and specifically in this film, I felt there was a big tonal division where it wanted to be very serious a lot of the time. And I appreciated those moments, but some of the like, and I know that there are people like this that act like this in real life. I do.
Sure. Right.
But like the way that like some of these characters are portrayed, it borders on ridiculous.
Okay.
In a lot of the time. And so like it felt almost satirical whenever it was not doing anything scary.
Okay.
And so normally I don't have a problem with it, and the reason it's a qualm for me here is I as an audience member couldn't tell if this was a choice or if it just ended up being this way due to a directional like I want you to be this way, and it came off as being non-serious as a result, or if it was like, no, we're gonna ham this up. And because I as an audience member couldn't discern whether or not this was intentional, I didn't quite jive with it sometimes, and it led to some moments that I think were supposed to be very serious, and I actually ended up laughing because of some of the things that were said.
Yeah.
Like there was specifically a moment where like a character describes like another character's death, and like literally they go ew, and I actually like laughed out loud
Yeah.
because I was just like, wait, are you kidding?
Yeah.
And so, and like, but I also kind of took a moment because I know there are people that do that shit in real life, bro, that like that have that lack of a reaction. And it does come from this circle of people. But I'm also not a celebrity and don't deal with celebrities. So it's always hard for me to be like, I don't know if this is what celebrities are supposedly really like, or if we're just getting that Hollywood portrayal of them. So it felt a little disingenuous to me sometimes, compared to the first film where I felt like it was a very personal, very individualized, very intimate horror story, and it kept me locked in a lot further, or a lot harder. And then my final thing I wanted to say about this film was, despite it trying to be ambitious, I didn't feel like those ambitious notes always landed. And if you have seen the first film, I do feel like it cheapens the plot of this one significantly.
Okay.
Because I actually feel like if you haven't seen the first one, you should just go see the second one. Like, it actually makes it a little bit more exciting because you don't know the path this character is very obviously going to tread because of the events of the first film. And so you kind of see where like this can go, right up into a moment where like you can be like, okay, are we going to do the same thing, or are we going to do a different ending than the original? Which brings me to my final point. Fuck the ending of this movie. It was horrible. I actually, legitimately fucking hated it.
Okay.
Like, so much. And let me tell you why. Because I know you're probably thinking, but they did the thing. And you're like, they did. But the way they did it felt cheap to me. Because the way the first one ends, while it is presented in a similar fashion to the audience, it felt more personal because of the scale. Okay. And I understand what they were trying to achieve here with the scale being larger for this ending, but I don't feel like it landed. To me, this felt like, what can we do to end this movie in service of making it a bigger franchise, rather than what can we do to end this movie in service of making a good ending for this movie. It felt like this was just an ending to make sure that we get a Smile 3, and that pissed me off.
Sure. Yeah, man. Yeah, I don't know. Do you have anything else to add there? Is that your final note?
Aside from like my sour feelings on the ending, I thought this was a really good horror movie in an all package. It tries to do some new and exciting things. I really liked a lot of that, even when I didn't feel it didn't land. I thought it was very, very interesting. A lot of the horror choreography was very exciting to me, especially the hallway scene with the group. Let's just say I loved that scene. Like, actually, like, found that scene to be very unnerving, very anxious, and very like I had a lot going on, even though it was a little silly in its tone. And like I can feel like maybe some audience members feeling a little disjointed with the movie taking itself really seriously at some moments and then trying to be so ambitious in other moments that it almost borderlines on goofy.
Sure.
If you're not ready for that. And the reason I say that is there was actually a couple down the row for us who laughed the whole fucking film. Like, I could tell that they never bought into the plot of this movie and everything was ridiculous to them. And if that can happen to one couple, I'm sure it's going to happen to other folks in the theater. And even I had some of those moments where like it got so unserious with the way that it transitioned, or the tone, or the way the dialogue was delivered, that it brought me out overall. But I appreciated the ambition of this film, even if I thought the ending really fell flat for me.
Sure. Okay, that's fair. Yeah, my feelings on this movie are interesting. I think I like this movie more than the first one. but I don't particularly. I agree. I don't particularly think this movie is better or worse than Smile One. It kind of does what it needs to do, almost to a point where like I almost feel like Smile Two could just be your first Smile experience at home as well.
Yeah, I really do. I feel that same way too, man. Like if you don't have to have seen the first one at all.
They have just the right amount of exposition in this to be able to sort of explain what's going on, and even outside of that, they have enough going on after the initial intro that you can kind of pick up like a majority of what the point is, because it sort of serves itself on a plate, the plot, like the whole concept of what this entity is and what it does and how it leads to what these movies are. And I think that they handled that pretty well. To be honest with you, I was honestly pretty surprised by how decent this movie was. I really thought that this movie was going to be a heaping pile of dog shit, to be completely honest with you. I thought it was going to be fucking terrible. We're going to go in here. It was going to be an absolute fucking mess. And no, it's fine. Like it actually turned out to be okay. The cast in this movie actually did a surprisingly fucking good job, I will say. Our girl Naomi Scott, who plays our main character, kills it this whole fucking movie. And I think that like that goes to show, because I don't think, off the top of my head, I can't think of any other horror movie specifically that she's done that she's anywhere near the main character for. And so her kind of diving into this and really kind of just like hamming it up this whole movie, she did a really, really fucking good job, man. And I was very happy with it. I was hoping that we would get a little bit more Kyle Gallner, our one character connecting us to the original movie. We got a little bit,
yeah,
but it's fine. I just mostly hope for it because
I was afraid they were gonna do what they did. I was like, damn, he just serviced the plot. Shit.
A little bit of a bummer. Mostly because for anyone that might know, doesn't know, whatever, Kyle Gallner is pretty much the Scream King. Like he's in fucking every horror movie ever that was just ridiculous, over the top, good, even to great. He's been in so many horror movies and he's incredible. So it was awesome to get him for what little amount of time that we did. But generally speaking, I think that they do some really cool stuff in this. So one, the camera work was incredible. You're right. The camera work in this
I loved
was
it, dude.
Outstanding. Some of these like slow pan single scene shots that they had were just so well done, and how they were following characters to really allow us to like live in their space and like really kind of connect with what's going on with them. More specifically, obviously, our main character, Sky. Using those like single shot pans to have us follow with and really kind of like sit in her shoes and be suspended in this moment was really creative. And like some of like the rail work they were using to kind of give us sort of like wide angled, like pan, like super wide, smooth shots, was really, really, really cool. It felt like a upgrade from the first movie, which was not particularly bad, but
they did it. I feel like they really elevated that aspect of this film here.
Yes.
Like with the way the transitions were, specifically anytime they did a close-up, oh my
it was
fucking
good.
God.
It was
like,
good, man.
There is a moment where like the moment when the curse gets transferred to our main character, right? I think it might have been like one of my favorite moments of the film, because like there's a lot of tension in this scene, and like you can tell like you as the audience member are like holding your breath, and there's like this very strong pause, and then like there's this release. But like the way the scene releases, it like releases the camera at the same and the audio at the same time.
Dude, it was
and
cool.
And and then the back. Oh my God! Like I thought, I was like, that was peak fucking horror right there.
Yeah, dude, it was good, man. Like they found all the really tiny ways to like amplify what was going on. Like the jump scares didn't feel cheap. The camera work told the story along with the story. I feel like the music was incredible in this.
It was it did exactly what it needed to do.
Exactly what it needed to do, dude.
Like everybody needs to watch this movie from a horror, like from an audio design perspective. Seriously, it was a treat because like it didn't overstay its welcome. It was never overriding anything in the plot, and like it was always just loud enough and just present enough to do what you need to do, what it needed to do to get that physical reaction from the audience, and coupled with the fucking amazing sound design of this film, the tension was there from start to finish.
Dude, they did a really good job because like this movie's centered around a pop star, right? So we have a couple sort of almost concert type settings that we're going into. They did a really good job of making these songs, like mixing and mastering these songs in a way that felt like an arena. They felt big. And I think that's probably my favorite part about this movie is everything having to do with her being a pop star, they really committed to. And I really, really love that they did that because they were kind of going in this 180 turn pivot, right? Where they were like, okay, we gave you this story that's very one person and her, family, her household, what have you, and how that's affecting her directly. And now we're looking at this from a perspective of somebody that has tons of people around her that this could potentially be affecting, and what that means in tandem with her being this sort of like big mass media figure. And they tinkered with that very creatively. Because as you were saying earlier, like we get a lot of pop star stuff, and there's this very specific sort of way that they handle that. Obviously there's some very tropey sort of like biopic-y ways that they sort of handle the pop star life. And I think that they did a good job of balancing this story with that in mind, because it felt like they weren't trying to make it just about her being a pop star. They were also focused on what that meant for her. And now she's got to juggle
her individual life as well as like the social repercussions.
And now she has to juggle this bullshit that is suddenly happening because of Lucas, our man Louis. God, what's the actor's name?
Louis Fragoli.
Louis Fragoli, but the actor's name is like Lucas.
Character's name.
Lucas something. And it's funny too. Like when I don't know if you knew this, but Fragoli,
Lucas Gage.
So, Lucas Gage. Yes, thank you. The Fragoli effect is an actual thing. Which it's like the belief that a whole group of people are like coming after you. And so it was interesting that they picked that name for this character. Little fun.
I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Psychology minor information for you. No, dude, I thought that they handled this pop star stuff really well. I want to say that I don't necessarily completely agree with you in terms of the ending. I think that the ending was fine for a movie that was good. And it's not to say that I like completely disagree with the point that you were making, because it definitely does feel like they were trying to just get us to Smile 3. Because now we know the ramifications of like what's going to happen, right? We see this, we're like, oh fuck, that's going to be fucked up in the next movie, right? Like that's going to be all sorts of a kind of mess. And it definitely kind of felt like they were like, all right, let's fucking get this, get out there. Let's fucking get this rolling here. I don't necessarily think that they did that poorly. I guess a better way to phrase it for me would be, I see probably 10 other ways they could have done that ending that would have still gotten us to the point of Smile 3 while still being very cool, because the rest of the movie is really cool, but this part was not.
That is ultimately my exact same problem, is like if I, the moment that ending happened, was able to think up immediately off the top of my head. Immediately. I was like, this could have happened, this could have happened, this could have. Are you serious?
Yeah. Yeah, man.
And like, I get that like they played with the audio a lot more than they did with the visual, right? Because there was like a lot of visual cues in the ending of the first one. There was more audio cues in the ending of this one, but I didn't feel like I felt like the audio cues literally everywhere else in the movie amazing, but like in the ending, it didn't have the impact and the weight that I needed it to have, and largely. I think that ultimately was because the way we get the single pan close up of the ending in the first one, where you get to see the reaction, like the actual human reaction.
We didn't quite get the same levity.
We didn't get the same, there's not the same impact. And I also, like, it was hard for me because I was scanning like that very large crowd,
right.
And like, I felt like what happened versus the facial reactions of that audience didn't match. Like I felt like it was undersold a little bit. Yeah. And that's where my frustration came from. And I was like, you could have done better because I've seen you do it.
Right. No, and I totally get that. Like I said, I can see what you mean for sure. Yeah. Because like a part of me feels deep down inside like, yeah, that it could have been better. It could have been better for sure, especially comparatively to the ending of the first movie being so just like shocking how it goes down. Like, and you know what? And that actually is a perfect way for me to segue into my main grievance really that I have with this movie is that they do a lot. Actually, not a lot. They do a handful of things in this movie that are pretty much the same thing as the first movie. So there's a couple scenes that I'm sure that you could rehash in your brain with me too, that are almost identical to things that to a couple of things that happen in the first movie, right? Like the phone thing. Yeah, that is almost
the phone thing,
identical to the first fucking movie, man. And that's just one of I want to say 3 or 4. Like there's 3 or 4 things in this movie that were pretty much they were like, oh, that fucking hit in the first movie. I bet it'll hit again. And I'm like, yeah, like you guys could have done so much more with that to like make those things even cooler instead of just being the exact same thing. Right. And that was a little bit of
kind of what I meant a little bit when I was like, when I felt like it actually cheapens itself a little bit if you've seen the first one already. Like I legit mean like if you haven't seen Smile 1, like you should see it. But like if you want to see Smile 2, just go see that one first and then go watch Smile 1 at home. You actually like it's like because like it just does one of those things where like because it's turning itself into a franchise and the franchise has an entity that acts a certain way, there's always going to be things that reoccur, right? It's not going to be any different than like a Saw movie, right? You know there's going to be fucked up traps, right? Or a Jason movie. You know there's going to be a slashy, stabby. Like Smile is going to have some scenes that like it is going to do A, B, or C, like because it's pushing itself into a formula, and I'm hoping in the third one it tries to broaden what that formula is so it doesn't bore itself to death.
I hope the third one is just absolute chaos. I think that and
that's
honestly,
what I need it to be based off of that ending. That's what I need it to be.
And honestly, I'm hoping that that's where like they're wanting to really, really go with this is saying like, hey, now we know where this is escalated to. Just wait, right? And you know what? I'm fucking here for it. I'm probably gonna go see the third one, day fucking 1 too. We'll probably be doing a review.
I'll probably go. Yeah, I'll probably see it.
It has a lot of cool like ideas that they could potentially do with it. There was just unfortunately some stuff that they were like, okay, well this hit, and this hit. It probably wouldn't hurt if we put it in here again. And it's like, it didn't hurt, but it also didn't like do anything extra for us. And so, which is crazy because the new stuff that they have in this are so fucking cool and so fucking wild that I was just like, why not just give us 3 or 4 more of those, dude? Like, there's
the car mouth actually made me almost jump out of my fucking skin.
yeah, dude.
like I got got.
Yeah.
Like I usually jump scares do not get me. Like if you get me with a jump scare, I like applaud the shit out of you, because it's just an ADHD superpower to be able to see those coming a mile away.
Anticipate it, right?
Yeah,
right,
to be able to kind of see like when it like here we go. But like they got me so good on that one.
They got me a few times actually, and here's the fucked up thing is that the jump scares were good enough that I was able to anticipate when they were coming, and they still got me. Like some fucking how.
Yeah.
Like I was like, oh god damn it. Like, and it really hit about halfway through the movie where there's like a specific jump scare that happens, and me and Marilyn and Sam and Devin all had like a moment.
Yeah.
And they do a good job on those. And so it was a little bit like curious as to like how did they just sort of accept the stuff that they carried over from the first movie and say, yeah, sure, that's good enough. You know what I mean? So it was a little bit of a bummer here and there. But generally speaking, I think that this movie did what it was looking to do, and it did it well. It didn't do it perfectly, but it did it well. And I think that in a world in which we have tons of horror movies, obviously, there's tons of fucking horror franchises that you all and we all fucking watch and whatnot. The Smile franchise, generally speaking, I think is doing a really cool thing by giving us this sort of playful concept that's original but not original at the same time, because we've obviously dealt with entities and like sort of paranormal things like that in other prior horror movies too, but this specifically is kind of a really cool touch. I know that like the consensus I've seen from a majority of people that I've like talked to about this movie have either fucking loved it, not this movie specifically, but this franchise, have either loved it or they just thought it was the dumbest shit on the fucking planet. And like, I just can't see why exactly they think it's the dumbest shit on the fucking planet, unless they're so jaded about horror movies that they just can't have a good time. Which is like, if that's the case, why are you watching horror movies? Like, this is not the genre for you.
Like this, like. And like we've seen like, and I've seen like some okay horror movies this year. I've seen some bad horror movies this year.
Yeah.
And like of those, like this has definitely been one that like I've appreciated more. I mean, obviously I haven't gone and seen Terrifier 3, but like I'm just kind of slasher flicks bore me. I'm sorry. They're just not my jam. I know that's a popular genre, but like I definitely am much more into the like I want you to make me so uncomfortable in my own skin for the next 2 hours that like I have to sit and let the credits roll just to recollect myself. That's what I want in a horror movie.
And that's what Smile delivers. They do a good job of that. And that's what Smile
delivers. Is like they definitely like get your brain racking, and like there was definitely bro, I'm not gonna lie, like I kind of laid down in bed at night and I like looked into my closet and I was just like I don't like that. All right, like because there were some moments in this movie where like the lighting was so dim, right? And you're just like you're scanning the scene because it's a horror movie and you're waiting for the worst shit to happen. And like the shit never happens in the background in this movie, so you're just looking all the time, and then it gets you other ways. I wanted to ask, how did you feel about the third act twist? I liked it.
Yeah.
I actually, despite the ending being frustrating as fuck for me, the twist, the leading up to the ending, I was just like, no shit, that's not what I was expecting. And I liked it.
Honestly, I think that was one of only very few ways they could have mixed this formula up. And I think that was a fucking genius way for them to do it. Was them handling it that way. So yeah, like when we say the ending was frustrating, we're literally talking about the very end of the movie. Like we're not talking about the third act.
The last 3 fucking minutes tops.
Literally, because the entire
once we get to the ending, the ending happens.
Because the third act's actually really fucking good. It's actually really fucking good.
Yeah.
Until the last couple minutes of the movie.
Up to, with the Pizza Hut and like all that other shit, man. Like, I was very compared to the first one. I was like, because now I'm just like, okay, now things are going differently, and I really want to know how this resolves. And like, but in the twist blew my fucking mind.
Yeah, I was stoked about it. I was really cool. And I remember specifically when it hit. I like put my arms out and I was like, no fucking way, dude.
Yeah, my brother went with me and I looked at him and I'm like, like, what? I was like, what the fuck, dude? Like, I wasn't ready for that, actually.
Yeah, dude, it was rad, man. It was a really, really cool way for them to handle that, especially because everyone kind of going into this was going to assume that there was just going to be a very specific formula, and this was a very creative way for them to be like, well. Is it though? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It was a very good subversion of expectations.
It was cool, man. Yeah, it was very rad. Garrick, my friend, without any further ado, should people go see this right away? And what was your final score?
Yeah, I do feel like this is worth checking out, actually. If you're a fan of horror movies, like it's Cracktober, right? We're in the spooky season. Like, now is the time to be going to watch these movies. And like, I'm sure this is a great movie up on offer, like this spooky season. Like, if you don't want to go see Terrifier 3 just because you don't want a bunch of senseless blood, you'll still get plenty of it in this film.
Stupid bullshit, yeah.
But you'll still get, and like, obviously I'm not talking shit on Terrifier 3. I just know what kind of movie that is. I just know what kind of movie that is, and I don't need to see it to know that.
Sure.
But like if that's not your bag, absolutely. But you still are interested in the horror genre, I do feel like Smile 2 is totally worth checking out, and you do not need to go see the first one at all to enjoy this. I actually think you might have a little bit of a better time if you just go see Smile 2 first. Straight up. Because like I think the plot just lends itself a little bit better. Like, because the twist is, I feel like the twist was really there for people who had seen the first one. Like, really there for it, like, right? But it was still a very good twist, and you'll appreciate it nonetheless. This is it's not perfect. I appreciated the ambition, but it didn't always land. But for it being a sequel of a movie that was very strong in its origins, and it kept itself afloat here, and I think that says a lot, because a lot of sequel horror films just don't. And this is a 7 out of 10 for me.
Oh, okay. All right, my good sir. Garrick, I would say if you're a horror fan, go see this right away. Like, I think that this was serviceable as a theater experience for this movie. It's a fun popcorn flick. Like, like go out and see with your friends and stuff like that. And there's a couple parts that are actually kind of giggly. Like, we laughed really hard during like 2 parts specifically during this movie, one of which I'm sure you know what we fucking laughed at. And I think this would be a fun experience to go into. I don't know if I would go as far as to say, I don't think it really matters a whole lot what order you see this in, to be honest with you. If you want to watch the first one, do it. The first one's a fucking great movie. And this one I feel is almost as great. Like, they do different things as good as each other, and that's the best part of this. So I think that no matter which way that you hash it, these movies are going to be good to see. And I do think that the audio design and camera work in this movie alone are worth going and seeing it in theaters for, to be honest.
Very good at it from a genre perspective. Very good from a
very fucking good, man. With that said, Garrick, I think I'm actually going to give this an 8 out of 10. Which is right around, because I gave 8.5 to Smile 1, I believe.
See, and I'm at like a 7.5 on Smile 1, so
sure. There we go. That works on my friend. So with that said, that gives us a 7.5 officially on the good Kraken scale for Smile 2. Yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm all right with it. 7.5 sounds okay for this movie. God damn, she was so good. And you guys at home can be good too, because this has been 20,000 Films Under the Sea, your choice for all the nerdy pop media news, reviews, and discussions that you wanted each and every week. If you liked what you heard, you can head on over to our Discord channel where you can submit questions and topics to the show, get exclusive content, and have early access to episodes before they go live on podcast and video services near you. But if you've emptied your pockets for the latest and greatest in entertainment, that is cool with us. You can watch us record this show live right here at twitch.tv/GoodKraken Show. You can also support us by going to our YouTube channel, hitting subscribe, or by leaving a review on our podcast channel by searching 20,000 Films Under the Sea. We'll be right there waiting for you. We have to get going, everybody. But until next time, my friends, I'm in control, not you.